Appreciate you listening. Appreciate my guests in the studio as well. Got some great ones. First one, you know her, you love her. Army Captain Jessica Meyer, appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me, as always.
Second to none.
Second to none.
I beat you to it.
I know. That's like, what, 5 times now?
I know. We're going to go for a record. I think we're at 5 right now. We'll keep a tally. But also Chaplain, Army Major. I looked at the wrong part of the piece of paper that I have. But in the studio with me, I'll get this one correct. Army Major John Ijeoma. Say that one correctly.
Yes, you did.
2 for 2. I appreciate you being here, sir. And then last but not least, Army Staff Sergeant Robert Williams, Chaplain's assistant. I didn't bring that up at the top of the hour. You were a Chaplain's assistant.
Yes, I am.
And speaking of, I wanted to touch a little bit on that before we go any further. Maybe let the audience know. They might hear that, a chaplain's assistant. What does that mean? Are you just a secretary? I mean, you just push papers?
No, I make his coffee, too.
Okay, I was going to say, you like carry his bags, you know.
No, actually, I do all the behind-the-scenes stuff. Officers plan, of course, and then NCOs execute. So a lot of the stuff that he wants to do, I do all the behind-the-scenes stuff to make the chaplain look good and make all the programs go off smoothly.
Interesting. Well, I mean, I have a few friends that are involved with different positions like that, and I want to say I heard from a friend in the Air Force that it wasn't an AFSC that you could go for off the bat, but you'd have to reclass into. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but in the Army, can you speak on that? Is that MOS you can choose, or do you have to reclass into?
No, in the Army, you can actually just go straight into it.
Okay.
Most people do reclass.
Okay, yeah, I want to say in the Air Force, don't quote me on it, but I want to say a friend of mine was telling me that that's not something they can choose. You have to go in and then reclass into.
That might be true. I don't know about the Air Force.
So is it the only MOS that you have attained, or did you reclass? Or?
I did actually reclass.
Yeah?
I used to be a 92 Fox Fueler.
Really? And how was that?
It was hard to get promoted in.
Yeah.
Which is part of why I reclassed.
Okay, a little easier now, hopefully?
Yeah, a little bit.
So how long have you been doing your current MOS?
Not very long. It's been about almost a year now.
Okay. And you enjoy it?
I do.
That's
I
good
do.
to
I
hear.
have a good chaplain here to work for.
Oh, nice brownie points, too. I like that.
Hey, I got an NCOER coming up.
Oh, an NCOER coming up. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And Chaplain, yourself, we're talking about from the top of the show, originally Nigerian is the name, not Japanese, as I would have assumed by the sound of it. But you hail back from the States from where again?
From Louisiana.
Louisiana.
That's where I call home.
Okay, and how long have you been a chaplain?
I've been ordained for more than 26 years.
26 years?
Yeah, but I've been a chaplain for 11 years now.
Oh, I was going to say, if you said you were a chaplain for 26 years, I would never have believed you, because age-wise, I would have never thought that you've been doing it that long. Truthfully.
Yes, I've been a priest for 26 years.
Wow, well, kudos to you. How do you like the position in the Army?
I love the Army. I love the soldiers. I love what the soldiers do.
Okay, and you said you were a priest, prior to coming in? Is that how it went down?
Yes, I was ordained a priest in Nigeria. I worked in Louisiana as a priest. And then I've always loved seeing people in the uniform. And that's the reason why I joined.
Wow. Well, I appreciate both of you being on. It's always fun to have people to do something a little different, or maybe something you don't really hear about every single day on the air. But I did have a question for you as I was walking around today getting some lunch right before coming on the airwaves, stuff in my face. See people walking around with a bunch of what seems to be dirt on their foreheads. I'm kind of being a little cheeky right now because I know what it means, but I'm going to wager there's someone listening right now that sees people with dirt on their foreheads and they're wondering, what is that all about? Can you speak on that?
Those are ashes. Today is Ash Wednesday, and they probably went to Mass and had ashes on their forehead. Ash Wednesday is the day that we start Lent for Christians. So it's going to be 40 days before we have Easter.
Okay, and because of that time of year, I'm assuming there's different events coming up tied in with things like that. Do you have stuff on the agenda?
Yes, during this time, during the time of Lent, we do have Fridays where we have Stations of the Cross for the Catholics. And Masses on Sundays, we do have Masses on Sundays as always, and also services, other services.
Sure.
Protestant services. We do have Spanish services in Humphreys and Church of Christ also, and we have Chaplain X on Sundays. And then on weekdays, we also have Masses Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. at Camp Humphreys.
So you got many options, it sounds like, to cater to no matter who's listening or whatever faith group you might belong to. But what about outside of the physical church, so to speak? Are there different events out and about as well that you guys have lined up?
Yes, we have other events, and I will ask my chaplain assistant to talk more on that.
The bus is coming in, just pushes you and just throws you onto the bus. But Sergeant, is there certain events that are coming up you guys want to plug as well? Make sure to get that out.
Yes. Well, there are a couple events coming up. One of which is a duty day with the chaplain that's coming up in about 2 weeks. That's being put on by one of our battalions. 3-2 is doing that full Lent. And there's also Bible studies that's going into the meaning of Lent and the historical relevance of it that happen Sunday nights at the chapel. Or not the chapel, at the high school where the chapel next service is held.
Okay, well, it sounds like you guys have lots of stuff lined up, and I want to get a little bit further in and make sure we get some of those events out. But we'll take our first little break here. We'll be back in 90 seconds with your weather.
And now, back to Talon Talk on AFN the Eagle, serving America's best.
Welcome back to Talon Talk, second to none. So that puts our tally at, what,
7.
man? 7? Okay, we're at 7 now. I think we're going to break the record. I think our previous record is probably like 4 or 5. So I think we've already broken it. So we'll go for a big record. But I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you listening to the show. This is Talon Talk. If you didn't already know, maybe you're brand new to the show. That rhymed. Every single Wednesday-ish, we go on at 2 cab here, 2 cab land, second to none.
Second to none.
That's 9 is my math.
That's 9.
9, wow. The audience is probably annoyed. I'm okay with it. It's 2:34. Appreciate you listening. And when I was introducing you earlier, sir, I realized I don't really need to do the rank at this point because usually, formality-wise, you go by chaplain, correct? I'm sitting here thinking of the friends that I have that are chaplains, and I was like, I could just say Chaplain Ijeoma
Yes.
and make my job a lot easier, right? But I appreciate you being here, Chaplain.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And Chaplain's assistant, Army Staff Sergeant Robert Williams as well. Appreciate you being on the air.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. We're talking all sorts of stuff, specifically kind of because of the peoples in the studio, different services, last break that you offer at Camp Humphreys. You guys have all sorts, and maybe we'll plug that at the end just to remind our listener. But for someone who's listening and wants to attend maybe a service, the chapel, maybe just seek it out, or maybe they have a specific faith group that they belong to, can you maybe let them know what they can expect, maybe environment-wise, if they're supposed to dress a certain way, anything like that?
People are very welcoming when you come to the chapel, and civilian dress is very, very casual. It's very appropriate.
So they don't have to show up and wear like a 3-piece suit and anything like that?
You don't have to if you cannot afford it.
Sure.
Something that
But what you're saying is if you can afford it, definitely wear a 3-piece suit.
if you want to, yes.
If you want to. I like the way you work. But we'll plug those at the end. Make sure you know the different services that are offered at Camp Humphreys. And as we were talking earlier, there's a lot of them. So there's something for everyone pretty much at the installation. So I appreciate you guys being here. And as I was talking a little bit earlier on the show, outside of the church, the chapel on installation, I know because the same happens here and we plug a lot of them on the installation. There's other events that you guys kind of piece together. Do you guys have stuff coming up in the near future?
Yes, we have lots of stuff coming up. As we have been saying offline, we do have
Like the different retreats coming up, I believe.
We do have Strong Bonds retreat coming up tomorrow, a family retreat, and the chaplain will be talking about family wellness on that retreat.
So what about someone who's not in a family? Is there something for a single soldier as well?
We do have single soldiers too. We do have couples retreat. Single soldiers is coming up in March.
Okay.
And that will be on the 13th of March. And that will be at Suwan Ramada Inn.
Okay, so for someone listening right now and their brain goes, what's the best place to have a reminder of those dates? Do you guys have a Facebook page? Should they call up the chapel? What's the best place to check in on those?
We send out things to the chapels, to the chaplains at the battalions, and they do remind their soldiers, the chaplain assistants, remind their soldiers through their command and staff meetings.
Okay.
And the S3s do send out things to the units to let them know that these things are coming up.
So the short end, I imagine, is contact your chaplain. Is really a simple way, right?
Chaplain or chaplain assistant.
Or chaplain assistant, and you're never too far away, because if you are, I'm imagining you're not doing your job at that point, right?
Roger.
Chaplain assistant's like, Roger. But final thing I want to get on this break as well. I'm reading something about a redeployment brief. I don't really know what that is. Can you guys describe that to me, what exactly that entails?
A redeployment brief is a brief, some kind of family reunion brief. People who have been here for 1 year, especially families or even single soldiers, when they go back to the States, they have families that they go back to. They have their parents or spouses that they go back to. It's a way to, bring them together, understanding that being out away from your family for about a year,
okay.
Things may have changed.
So this isn't for someone coming in. This is for someone going back home.
Yes.
I think that's a good point, because I think when I was reading it, I was just assuming it was for people coming here, and it's going to be such a culture shock, but you make a good point. It's kind of similar maybe just even to retiring, for that matter. There will be a culture change, somewhat of a culture shock, because you're going back, and especially for someone who's married and has a wife or a husband, etc.
And children. Making sure that they also put their children as part of, when they go back, not neglecting them.
Sure.
It's easy for, you have, been away from your spouse for a long time, and you both of you will get together and not putting the kids as part of
Sure.
The reunion. So
because, let's face it, we can all relate to this in the military. We kind of compartmentalize, because we kind of have to sometimes for the mission. Out of sight, out of mind. You complete the mission, you put on those blinders, but you make a good point. You go home to those kids, and they probably want so much attention at that point. You have to remember, hey, you're back. Like, show them that love, right?
Yes, and the kids also are expecting their, or the family back home are also expecting, their loved one coming back. So I believe also back home, their units will also try to give them that reunion brief.
Okay.
There are some expectations from both sides.
And how often is this offered? Is this something you do every blue moon, or can people just show up, like when and where?
We do have the brief every Tuesday at the Freedom Chapel.
At the Freedom Chapel.
Yes,
so that's
9:30. It's weekly.
Okay, a weekly thing, which is good for most people here for a year. It's probably by necessity, I imagine.
Yes, we do have people every week that come for the brief.
Well, great. So you guys got lots of stuff lined up, different services to the chapel. We'll plug those a little bit later in the show. We got the Strong Bonds Retreat starting tomorrow, if I'm reading correctly. We've got that for couples, and then also we've got for people who are single, people who are couples outside of families, coming up in March as well. And then those redeployment briefs every single Tuesday, 9:30 at the Freedom Chapel.
Yes, you're right.
Cool. So check all that stuff out. We'll take another break here. We got more show on the way.
And now, back to Talon Talk on AFN the Eagle, serving America's best.
Welcome back. In interest of time, it's 2:49. My name is Army Sergeant Aaron Loy. I want to dive right back in. 3 guests with me: Army Captain Jessica Meyer. I've got Army Staff Sergeant Robert Williams, Chaplain's assistant, and then Man of the Hour, Chaplain Ijeoma. Appreciate all 3 of you being here.
Glad to be here.
Absolutely. So we got our last segment here. We talked about all sorts of stuff, different services offered at Camp Humphreys with the chapel, different events coming up as well, redeployment briefs. What else we talk about? What you can expect going to the different services. But I want to break it down a little more on a micro level. And Sergeant, I'll speak to you right now. 2CAB over there, which, what's the motto of 2CAB? What is it?
Second to none.
Yes, second to none. Is that 10? Double digits? I think we're at 10 right now. But you guys over there at 2CAB Land, Unit Ministry Team. That's UMT, if I'm saying that right. How can someone get the help of the ministry team?
If someone needs to get help, they can talk to either their chaplain at the battalion level, or they can come to us directly at Building 581. We do offer our phone numbers and everything else to the unit, the individual battalion unit ministry team, so that they know.
Okay, so for someone listening right now and they hear that, so they hear UMT or even just the words Unit Ministry Team, what do you mean by that? What is that? Like, what does that encompass?
Your unit ministry team is your battalion chaplain and chaplain assistant.
Okay.
They offer a number of different things, focusing on spiritual and emotional resiliency. Marriage and relationship training, which is the strong bonds we talked about. Pastoral counseling, religious services. We are starting a program where we are working with behavioral health and MFLAC to have group counseling sessions so that way every level of confidentiality is available to the soldier.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, I can speak on behalf of myself and maybe other junior enlisted where you see those commercials, especially on AFN, where it's like, contact your chaplain. You have a problem with, hair follicles, contact your chaplain. You have a problem with not sleeping at night, contact your chaplain. It's like a laundry list of things. And chaplain, I have to ask you, is this something that I'm assuming you get trained in when you go through your training that you could be called upon for literally anything, right? Am I right?
Well, we have done literally everything.
Yeah.
But it's important also for the soldiers to understand that there are things also that we can refer them to other places. If the chaplain will help, the chaplain will do so. But there are certain areas where the chaplain will say, well, do you consider talking to somebody else, like
Sure.
behavioral health?
That's a very good point. I never really thought about it that way. In kind of sorts, you're kind of like a middleman. I mean, you can do things within your lane, within your boundaries, but you make a very good point. You're kind of like a safe zone of sorts that someone could come to and not have to be scared about or pressured about. And then you can say, hey, if it has to do with this sort of stuff, I can help you. But if it's something elsewhere, I want to get you to a professional, someone that's trained in it that can help you, right?
Yes, that's what we do.
That makes more sense. I'm glad you brought that up. So my question to you guys then is, what would you say is the most sought-out reason that someone comes to you as a chaplain or a chaplain's assistant? If you don't mind disclosing, what would you say is the most common thing that someone comes to you for?
Soldiers come to us for lots of things. And we are always willing and ready to help soldiers. If they come to us for family issues, we will be glad to help them and talk about it and help them as much as we can.
Do you notice anything just being here, for example, in the Republic of Korea, Camp Humphreys, that maybe a certain topic gets brought to you more than other installations? Do you guys get anything like that?
We have a high incident rate of suicide issues, suicidal ideations, everything
Okay.
we have to deal with. And they do come to us partially because we offer absolute confidentiality, which you can't get through any other service.
That's a good point. I would have assumed something like that, where maybe you're away from your family, from your friends, that safe zone of sorts back from home, especially maybe a lot of the junior enlisted or new officers, that it's new to them, right? And then you kind of have all the different temptations that a new country brings that some people, they sink a little bit as opposed to swim.
Yes, we do have that issue a lot. Biggest issue is family marital issues that they come to us for.
Okay, well, it's just a curiosity question on my part, but I appreciate everything that you guys do, and I do have a lot of people, contacts here. I can't just give Camp Humphreys and 2Cab Land props. I can because you guys are here, obviously, but I can speak to you on behalf of everyone that does your job and your MOS, sir and sergeant, that I appreciate what you do, and you're very needed in the military, and I know I speak for a lot of people when I say that, so thank you.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. So we'll take our last little break here. We'll close up the show in 90 seconds. Welcome back, friendo. It is 2:56. My name is Army Sergeant Aaron Loy, currently sitting at 40 degrees. Hazy skies for tonight, low of mid-20s, partly cloudy, and then moving into your Thursday, 47 clear skies. If you want to trade in those presidential flashcards and get some Korean money instead, current exchange rate.
1,001 will $1,000 we get you $1,000 will get you 1,073 won.
I like that. $1,000 will get you 1,000 won. People are like, oh gosh, I don't know what to do with my money. That'd be the most, inflation would be crazy at that point. But I appreciate you doing that, Chaplain, and Sergeant here with our fuel prices.
Unleaded fuel at the exchange is currently $2.32 a gallon, premium is $2.70, and diesel is $2.96.
Well, I appreciate it. We're a little sensitive on time as we wrap up Talon Talk. I thank all three of you for coming in, and for a listener who missed the show, we'll put this on your Facebook page, I believe, which is...
It is the 2Cab Facebook page. You can find it under 2nd Combat Aviation Brigade.
That's too easy. So, ma'am, Chaplain, Sergeant, all three of you appreciate being here. If they missed the show, a lot of what we discussed, what's the best way to get in touch with the Chaplain?
You can call us at 753-6026 DSN line.
Too easy. So all three of you, anything we missed as we wrap up the show?
I just want to give a big shout out to Sergeant Smith, who just did his first MC job at 3-2 GSAB.
That's awesome.
So, good job, Sergeant Smith.
Very, very cool. Big shout out to him as we close up the show. I appreciate all three of you coming on. More Talon Talk every single Wednesday, unless it rotates a little bit. 2 o'clock on Wednesday. So for myself, Army Sergeant Aaron Loy, and for all the other soldiers in the room, hope you have a great 2 minutes and 15 seconds.